Hello, welcome to CSSC Encounters. My name is Jan Servaas and my guest today is Yu-Hong Lee, one of our associate research fellows here at the CityU University in the Department of Media and Communication. Yu-Hong has been a journalist for CCTV in the mainland of China and studied at the Columbia University in New York before she joined us here in Hong Kong. And one of your responsibilities here has to do with producing and assisting others to make documentaries. Now, one of the documentary series we want to introduce to our viewers in America is called Our Father's Revolution. For the people around here, that's automatically referred to as the Cultural Revolution. Now, why do you call it Our Father's Revolution?
Actually, it's not their father's generation, what the students, the story about. It's like grandfathers,
Right.
But it's easier to just like in Chinese, it's a full bay, it's like fathers.
Mm-hmm.
So we just call it the father's revolution because it's just a memory to remind it's happened before.
Yeah.
It's especially their families or their fellows of hometown. So we call this our father's revolution. And indeed, some students really interviewed their grandparents, and because the whole 10 years, 1 decade, their grandparents suffered a lot during the Cultural Revolution. They have a lot of stories. But their father, the students' parents, generation, actually very young. Most of them were born in 1960s or even 1970s. So a story about this is very interesting. All my students, they are one-child policy. One child, in their family because of the one-child policy. So I want to appreciate many of the students, when they went to film the documentary, their parents help a lot. So I told my students, I said, I want to appreciate your parents because they help a lot on this program, because they help maybe do some interview or even to, prepare everything and accompany them to the
So
place.
why were they that eager to assist? Because my understanding is that the Cultural Revolution is still a rather taboo topic in the mainland.
Yes, taboo, but because they said this is a student's work. So maybe it's okay not to go to the public, mainstream media.
Right.
And so most of their parents support them. And when I want to show my appreciation to their parents, then parents' answer was, actually, we are not helping my son or my daughter. We want to know ourselves as well. Because they don't know, they have no idea about, not very clear what happened during the time.
So it's basically a process of catharsis, a process of finding your own background, history, and identity.
Yes, it's like the question I just talked. Who am I and who am I from? It's a question, very basic, but maybe most difficult to answer. Yeah, but when we grow up, we notice we have some weakness, we have something we cannot explain. For example, I study abroad, I feel, why, other students, they can speak out, their comments or whatever. But my education from my parents is, be careful, don't speak out, your ideas directly, because maybe, a lot of concerns. I don't know.
I thought it was a bit of Chinese culture.
Yeah, it's not only because of the Chinese culture. From my family education, I think maybe most Chinese young people, their education is be careful. It's very important. Be cautious, because maybe their father, their grandparents suffer a lot from. They have to be conscious. So we didn't get to the education of trust. We got a lot of conscious. So I feel it's a little bit sad. Even for today, the crisis. People don't trust each other in today's China. Many people cannot trust each other. So I think we need to find what's the reasons why this kind of character shaped us. So that's why when I launched this program and the project, many students have great interest to know, and their parents also want to know.
So you've offered this, or you mentioned this to your students. They thought it was an interesting project, an interesting idea. Even their parents joined in and assisted. Now, can you give us a bit of an overview of what the results have been? What kind of student work, what kind of different sections, different episodes are we going to see?
Yeah, so we filmed 11 episodes, short films for each 15 minutes. And because the students are from different parts of China, so like Heilongjiang, like Chongqing, Chengdu, so different area, they have different stories. So when they do the general research, we do some, we spend 1 semester to do research before we went to film the documentary. So the research we did two aspects. The first one is like a general background history about Cultural Revolution, to read some memoirs, some books, and to watch some documentaries about similar background. On the other hand, they do some research specifically on their own area. For example, one of my students, she's from Henan province. And when we talk about Henan during the Cultural Revolution, actually it's before Cultural Revolution, people always can remember the Great Famine in 1990, maybe 91 to 1961 to 63. Yeah, we call the 3-year natural disaster, but it's not. So this student, focused on the research on the Great Famine, and she interviewed some expert to talk about that, and she even went to the small village and which suffered a lot, died a lot of people during the time. So she interviewed the survivors and to talk all the stories, what happened, because is it a real natural disaster or it's just a man-made, disaster? So she just want to explore what happened. Yeah, this is one of the stories, and the other one maybe we know it's hard to understand, but Chairman Mao called the young generation went to the rural area to accept re-education from the peasants, the rural people.
Learning from the farmers and the peasants, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So one of my students, he's from Heilongjiang, and a lot of urban young students at the time during the Cultural Revolution were sent to far, far away from their hometown, big cities like Heilongjiang, small villages, and so cold, and many people could never gone back to their hometown again. Some just mentally disorder and stay there in their whole life. So he tried to interview these kind of like hospital and to just see what kind of this people's situation and what's the influence of this kind of policy to send all these young people to the rural area. So these are two stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have given us already 2 examples of what the viewers will see when they watch the series. And what I take from it is it's a personalized, localized story of family members, of neighborhood friends in specific localities in China, but in general it says a lot, or it explains what happened during the Cultural Revolution in a more localized way. It's not the big policies or the politics which are being shown, but how people experienced, some of them suffered during that period. Are there other elements which you think you should highlight when watching this series?
It's very interesting because one of my students, she filmed a story about her both sides, mother and father side's grandma, and to compare, two different kind of life. And they both, were born in from very rich family before, and they were all, the target for the Cultural Revolution to fight for. So the interesting, thing is, I thought at the end she tried to write some conclusion about this documentary, and I thought what her thought should be, the history, Chinese people, they cannot control their fate. They have to flow with the history, whatever the country flows, they flow. But to my surprise, the students said, I just want to follow my father's side grandma, because whatever the fate, life is, she could always optimistic.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
So she takes sides, but she gives the option to the viewers to join her or disagree with her.
Yeah, exactly. So, and one more thing is my students went to Chongqing. As you know, during the Cultural Revolution, it's very violent in Chongqing. A lot of fightings. They use weapons, so a lot of people killed. So the interview tried to find a person who was the leader of the violence, and that guy lost his finger during the fighting.
Right.
And the students thought he would be very regretted for what he did and what happened. But to their surprise, he didn't. He was not regretted at all. He said that's his golden time in his life.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think, through, people, the students actually had some answer before they went to film the documentary. But actually, just I want to say human beings are very complicated.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not like very simple, like, this bad or good, it's good or bad, white or black.
So the stories, in a way, are multi-layered, and you can interpret them in different ways.
Yes. I think it's open end. I don't want like a conclusion. Every people suffered, the sorrows. Not really. Some people just still try to remember their golden times when they were very, like glorious or whatever. So people are so different. So that's why in Chinese today's society still so complicated, right? Some people want to go back to Cultural Revolution times. So, but it's, at the beginning I thought, how could? But now I think it's maybe not bad, because the society is very diverse. So different people, they have different life and different, just like students get to know the life is not that simple, as we imagined.
Right, and people always adjust to the circumstances.
Yes.
Whether be them better or bad. In that sense, there is a lot to learn from this kind of series. Also for people who don't participate or not living in the same kind of situation, they can associate and they can learn about it, and that's hopefully one of the good outcomes of such a series, which has been shown around in different parts of the region, especially in the mainland, but also other countries, and is now going to be viewed in the US. So I think it's worth congratulating you with this initiative. And any other projects in the future?
Yeah, currently, we have started, a new project called the Family Album. And it's actually it's followed our Father's Revolution, but this is maybe more, wide range of stories. Our target is to film maybe 100 Chinese family story. So it's a so it's maybe we'll spend a couple years.
Okay, but for the time being, we are going to show the first series, Our Father's Revolution, to an American audience. And I'll thank you for your introduction, and I'll thank you for your interest.